Shalom, family. All esteemed to Yahuah. It's been a minute since I've done one of these little words, but Yahuah did drop one on me just recently with what I've been studying. So I've been in Ecclesiastes lately. I've been just meditating on the wisdom books, seeking understanding, seeking hokmah, right? Wisdom and buy-in understanding. And one of the things that just been heavy in my ruach, just regarding where we're at with everything, you know what I mean? Like with all the judgment that's upon the earth, the wilderness, all the areas where Yahuwah's people are being tested in. One of the areas that the Ruach just ministered to me as of recently um, is vanity, right? Um, Words, desires of vanity. People um, seeking to do things, seeking to be seen, seeking to be heard, right? And Yahuwah just revealed to me that it's just deep because when it comes to vanity, right, a lot of people don't really realize that Hebraically, what vanity is deeper than just nothingness, right? It's the idea of a flowing away or a flowing out or away of content, right? So ultimately, what can cause a person to fall off into vanity is having desires that are outside of Yahuwah, right? And ultimately, as we know from the various definitions of Hebraic vanity, chabel or, shawah, just different various Hebraic definitions of this word, what it means to be vain, right? To flow into emptiness, nothingness, right? Is the ultimate result, it leads to destruction, right? So one of the most quoted proverbs, and I know you hear us talk about this all the time, but there's a way that seems right unto man. It seems right unto him, but the way leads to death, right? That's a result of the vanity in that man's heart. The desire in that man's heart to do something that the Ruach definitely didn't lead him on, but in his mind, he following Yahuwah, right? That's why so many people, when Mashiach does return, they're going to be like, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name? Have we not cast out many devils in your name and done many wonderful works in your name? And he going to be like, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you. Why? Because they were seeking vanity. They were seeking their own esteem, right? They were seeking to do things, speak things that Yahuwah didn't speak, right? They were seeking to do things that was actually a desire of their own heart, but because they weren't in tune with the Ruach enough to really know Yahuwah, they missed it, right? So their destruction was a result of their vanity, their vain thoughts, their vain desires, right? Their vain words. Some people, like, I'm gonna read this to you. So this is Ecclesiastes 5. I got it open right here. It's crazy. This is Shlomo, right? He says, guard your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, right? Or to the assembly. And be more ready to hear than to give sacrifice of fools. For they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in the Shamaim, and you upon the earth. Therefore let your words be few. So he's not saying you can't say nothing when you go to the assembly. He's not saying, what he's saying is that when you're in the presence of Yahuwah, it's best for you to be quick to hear and slow to speak in those moments. Because a lot of the times, again, because we have our own desires that are outside of Yahuwah's, right? We end up saying things and doing things that are outside of Yahuwah, which ultimately lead us to transgression. Again, the way it seems right to the man, it seems like it's just, man, it seems so perfect. It seems so right. But because that man really didn't take his time and patiently wait on Yahuwah and hearing the voice of Yahuwah on moving forward in this specific instruction or this specific, feeling that he had, it led him off into vanity. right? So again, we got to be careful with these things, because another thing Yahuwah revealed to me, and I know I said this a while ago, but a lot of things are done. A lot of the things that are done in vanity, a lot of the things that are said in vanity, ultimately go back to people wanting to seek their own esteem, right? So what's the best example of this? Hasatan, right? He literally in what is this, Isaiah 14 said, I will ascend above El Elyon. That's literally what he said. He in his heart, it was a desire of his that ultimately led him in the transgression. And we already know, what Revelation says, how it ends for him is in the lake. But it's the same way for everybody who follows this pattern of not inquiring of Yahuwah and not really being slow to speak and slow to hear and grasp what Yahuwah is trying to produce in you first, then actually being led of Yahuwah. See, we get into this thing and we want to do all these things ourselves because we want to seek our own esteem. And that's not of Yahuwah. You already know, seeking your own esteem, your own, your own right, going off to make your own righteousness, right? As my wife would say, to earn cool points with Yahuwah and doing all these things. No, that is ultimately Hasatan's esteem, because you're following a road that Yahuwah didn't lead you down. And where does that road lead you? To destruction. That's vanity, right? Chabel, a flowing away into nothingness, right? So ultimately, what we got to understand is that, like, when we, and am I saying, is it wrong for us to have righteous desires? Of course, it's not wrong for us to have righteous desires. Yahuwah desires us to have righteous desires, but we have to seek him, just like we have to pray for Hokmah and Bayan, wisdom and understanding. We got to pray for Yahuwah's desires and really ask ourselves before we say this thing or before we do this, is Yahuwah getting this thing out of this, right? Is this going to produce the will of Yahuwah in me doing this or saying this? What fruit is going to come of this? Am I gonna be getting my own esteem? Are people gonna look at me as the cool guy who just knows all this information, but nobody was edified from it, right? Are people gonna look at me like, hey, I think I know, because again, sometimes we give words from the Ruach, and at the end of the day, people be mad because it offended them. Again, shotgun words, shotgun words. And it caught them because at the end of the day, that's what they were struggling with. That's what they were dealing with. So that word penetrated and pierced their heart. So they got offended. Now they want to say things like, oh man, a wise man is slow to speak. And it's like, well, hold on. I did inquire you. Now, again, I'm not saying that everybody, shouldn't be slow to speak, because you should. But when Yahuwah is prompting you to say something, you say it in boldness and authority. And if it's of Yahuwah, it's actually going to come to pass. That thing that you're speaking will be revealed, right? So again, before we go off doing things and speaking things, we have to pray for the desire, the will of Yahuwah, the perfect will of Yahuwah. Not the good and the acceptable, but the perfect will of Yahuwah. Because the perfect will of Yahuwah is ultimately going to produce the fruit of the kingdom, right? It's going to produce righteous fruits. Now, that's not to say that sometimes when you speak a word, it won't offend. Every time we give words, it offends people. But at the end of the day, that's between that person and Yahuwah, when it actually is a word from Yahuwah. But the thing is, the key is to make sure that it actually is a word from Yahuwah, and that it's not a word that's just coming from you and your own thoughts and your own opinion, right? The men that penned these scripts, man, they wasn't giving opinions like that. And even because these people were so dedicated to the ancient path and so tuned into the Ruach, when they did give their opinions, guess what? Their opinions still lined up with what the Ruach was saying, right? Take Shaul for an example. So I'm saying all of this to say that too many people are out here seeking to be heard, seeking to be seen. Why? Because they desire their own esteem and not Yahuwah's. So they're quick to speak and slow to hear. All of that is vanity. All of that is vanity. At the end of the day, it's our desire, or it should be our job to seek his desires, not our own desires. Because our own desires are wicked. Just like what we just read in Ecclesiastes, Yahuah and the Shamaim, us and the Haaretz. There's nothing good that comes out of the flesh. But the desires that are given to you of the Ruach, that's the will of Yahuah. That's the key in not walking in vanity and walking in Ruach, walking on the Olam ancient path. So I just felt led to say that, like, we gotta, we can't get comfortable with, just where we're at and just think, oh man, I could just get my opinion. Like, no, at the end of the day, we gotta give account for every word that comes out of our mouth, period. Be slow to speak. So, hallelujah. Let's not fall into vanity. That's all I got. Shalom, family.